All right. Hello. Welcome to Dan's story hour, or story 30 minutes. What I'm about to tell you, it's a true story. Totally 100% true. It involves lies, deceit, treachery, greed, gluttony, superstars. Hollywood superstars, biggest names in grunge music, me, an exotic location, and it is true. And ultimately, it involves redemption. Okay, there was no redemption, but it is true. It took place on May 18th, 1996, almost 25 years ago to the day. So I thought I'd relive it for everybody. I haven't told it much, so I thought I'd relive it. Now, in those days, I would have been a first-year Carleton University student. I would have been studying history with a double minor in philosophy and art history, ultimately an expert in Nazi-Soviet relations. I would have on Monday, Wednesday, Friday been at the boxing club practicing and coaching boxing. Thursday night I would have been playing competitive chess, high-level chess. Friday, Saturday I would have been in the greasiest, dirtiest pool halls and watering holes of Ottawa playing grungy heavy metal music to drunk Ottawans. And I would have been a member of the Carleton University Improv Club. I think this story involves all of those things. Maybe it doesn't, but I think so. All right, now, I think in life, we all have locations. There are places on this planet that we've seen or read or heard about. A friend has been there, an uncle, an aunt. Somebody has been to these places, and they have these oversized importance in our lives. We have to get there. We have to see them. We want to experience that thing. You know, whether it's kind of futuristic Tokyo, anime Tokyo, whether it's, scuba diving in the coral reefs of Australia, whether it is, mystical Nepal, surfing in California, penguins in Antarctica. There's always places we want to go. Ancient Cairo, always places we want to go to. For me, there was one place. There was two places. There was the ancient land Holland, the Netherlands. Land of my ancestors. My parents were born there. Land of my ancestors. Land of windmills. Land of very loose morals, baby. And the second place was New York City. Now, New York City. I'm in Ottawa, Canada. New York City, and I grew up in Ottawa. New York City is very close by. It's 700 kilometers straight that way. And if you go 45 minutes by car that way, you're going to hit a river, St. Lawrence River. Halfway through that river is a border, and on the other side you're going to see little tiny American cows and little tiny American barns and little tiny American farmers doing American farming things. I don't know if that makes us New Yorkers or if that makes them Canadians. I don't know how that works. I guess if you're in Texas, we're all socialists. Anyhow, I grew up very close to the U.S. border. Growing up in the 70s and 80s, we had 3 TV channels in Ottawa. But fortunately, we had New York State right beside us, and they would beam in 6 or 7 different channels. Rochester, Syracuse, WMPI, Watertown, but a bunch New York City. So I grew up, and it wasn't just a program we were watching. We weren't just watching Cosby Show or Family Ties. We were watching from the time they fired up in the mornings, and TV channels, local channels shut right down. This is pre-internet. No internet, no 24-hour bottomless pit of entertainment. The TV channels shut off, test patterns at night. From the time they came on to the time they shut off at 2 in the morning, we were watching used car commercials. We were watching whatever. 6 o'clock news, talk shows, noon hour programming, local shows from these local places. To the point, it was very strange growing up that, between ages like 5 and 10, I knew I wasn't American, but I didn't really understand why I was watching all this crap from America. Anyways, tons of New York content. Clearly, absolutely, as a young kid, I knew more about New York State than I ever did about Montreal 2 hours that way, or Toronto 4 hours that way. So that's the American cultural export on the world, and it certainly in my life it played a huge role. Anyways, again, no internet. Without internet, I had to find other means of entertainment. We had AM radio, and between, at about age 12 or 13, I started to realize I could dial in AM radio signals from Atlanta, From, at night they would boost up the signals, and I could pick up AM radio from Atlanta, from St. Louis, from Chicago, Boston, wherever. And I would listen to hockey games, or I would listen to anything, but eventually started listening to a lot of talk radio while I played my guitar. A lot of talk radio, late into the night, hours into the night of New York City, and I heard the personalities and the locations and the places and the things, all the stuff going on in New York City. So you have this draw, and of course, as a musician, New York, you have Tin Pan Alley in the 30s, 40s, big band, 50s, jazz, 60s, folk music, 70s, rock and roll, disco, 80s, 90s, what we were living through right at the time, hip-hop. Crazy stuff, all kinds of stuff going on. The architecture, I love architecture. And from 1900 to 1980, New York City is clearly the place to have gone to for, best architecture in the world. But there were two things above anything else that I knew I had to go to New York for. And they were Late Night with David Letterman and Saturday Night Live. Both shows were the most edgy thing on TV, comedy shows from NBC, filmed in Rockefeller Center. That Rockefeller Center was a very fundamental component of those shows' DNAs. Edgiest things on TV, funny. As a guy who did skit comedy and liked skit comedy, it was like, I got to see these. I want to experience those things. And they were big. There was no internet. People would get together on a Monday morning. Everybody had seen Saturday Night Live. Everybody was watching Letterman. Everybody knew the skits and the gags and all that. Everybody knew it. I mean, you had movies, you had TV, and there was nothing else after that. So it's 1995, cut to 1995. I'm doing my normal teenage, whatever I was doing in 1995. And I get a call in that spring or early summer, and it's my wonderful, cool brother. My wonderful, cool brother calls me up and says, "Hey, wonderful, cool little brother." And I say, "Yes, wonderful, cool big brother." And he says, "Wonderful, cool little brother, I need a hand. I'm moving to New York, and I need you to help me move." And I say, "I'm there, wonderful, cool big brother." I don't think he knew how much I loved New York or the fascination I had with it. He was going to move down there. He was going to be there for 2 years to do his master's degree. And he was going to be breathing that glorious New York City air, and I was going to make full use of this opportunity. So, cut to a few months later, late August, I'm sitting in a cube van beside my wonderful, cool father. We're driving down to Brooklyn. We get there, there's row houses. We move them into 371 Hoyt Street. There's this row house. These row houses are there. The stoops, just like Sesame Street, we don't have those in Ottawa. We unload the van. Next day, we're given permission to go into the city. Next day, we get on a subway. My dad and I get on a subway. We don't have subways in Ottawa. We get off at 47. My father's guiding this mission, so I don't know. I'm just like, my father's doing all the thinking. We get off, and of all places he gets me off, it's 4750 Rockefeller Center. I look up above me, 50, 60-story skyscrapers everywhere. Wow, we don't have those in Ottawa. And I look over, and there, right in front of my eyes, is Radio City Music Hall. Like, from all the TV shows, from all the things I'd read and seen, and like, to see that as my first thing was, wow, this is crazy. Anyways, Rockefeller Center. My father and I spend the next 4 or 5 days doing United Nations. We do Metropolitan Museum of Art, Central Park, the Cloisters, World Trade Center. We stood on top of World Trade Center. But what I liked best was just kind of walking the streets and the chaos and the noise and the sound and the confusion, the energy. We don't have that in Ottawa. But turn a corner and there's Chrysler Building, Woolworth Building. There's the Grand Central Station, Brooklyn Bridge, all these architectural marvels, and it's wow. So, go back. A week later, we drive back. I knew I had to get back. I'd whet my appetite. It was living up to everything I thought it would be. But I had to get back. So I'm looking for ways to get back to New York City. How do I get back? One day in January or February, I'm flipping open the Ottawa Citizen, our local paper, to the travel section. There in front of my eyes is return flights from Ottawa to New York City, $150. Sold. Now, I know a lot of my friends are not going to want to make the 8-hour drive down to New York City, but I know a whole lot of them would pay $150 for a 2-hour flight. So, start making phone calls, and my partner in crime, my buddy, my best friend at the time, Al, my cousin, says, "I'm in." So, a few weeks later, we're on a plane, we're flying down. This trip would have been more kind of adult fare, savoring the nightlife, two wild, crazy guys in the big city on their own. At one point we saw Stallone. He was filming a movie. Security guard at one point told me he was going to get Stallone to beat the shit out of me. My interactions with security guards kind of go like this a lot. It never happened. It would have been a better story than this, I'm sure. But anyways, that visit, we did Conan O'Brien. New guy, Conan O'Brien had replaced David Letterman. He was being filmed at Rockefeller Center. And still mixed reviews on Conan O'Brien at the time. But on the show, we saw Scorsese. I'm sitting there 100 feet away from Martin Scorsese, the maestro, the auteur. So that was pretty cool. Later on the show, we also, the 49th Street exit of Rockefeller Center, we were standing there after the show. Richard Belzer, another guest on the show, walks by, lights up a cigarette, starts interacting with us. And Lisa Loeb was on the show. And her band walk out, and they're waiting for their cars, their drivers. But everybody runs up. There's all these other bands and musicians, and they have their demo tapes, and they run up, hand them to Lisa Loeb, and say, hey, sign us, sign us. No internet. This is how you got things done. You had to get into the record stations, record companies. So we fly home, but we still hadn't seen Letterman. I hadn't seen Letterman. I hadn't done Saturday Night Live. The way you would get tickets back in those days, pre-internet, is you would write your name and address on a postcard, you would mail it in. You would then randomly, at some point in time, get a letter back from them with tickets, or you wouldn't. I assumed I wouldn't. Anyway, shortly after the February trip, in the mail, I get a card from Late Night with David Letterman, 2 tickets to a taping of the May 17th, 1996 show. That's cool. Wow. So I call my cousin, he's in. As things progress, we start to realize that on the May 18th, it's going to be Saturday Night Live with, who else? Jim Carrey and Soundgarden. Listen, man, Jim Carrey is the funniest guy, the highest paid celebrity in Hollywood, and a Canadian. And Soundgarden's the greatest band of all time, and the greatest band of the 90s anyways. Radiohead, they were pretty good. 9 Inch Nails. One of the greatest bands of the 90s. Anyways, so we set up the trip. I'm going to borrow the K-car wagon from my father. The Plymouth Reliant, one of the greatest pieces of 90s technology. We're going to drive down, and we're going to do the filming of Letterman on the Friday night. That's the only plan at this point. So we drive down, I believe it's the Wednesday we drove down on. Drive down on the Wednesday, get to my brother's place at 3 a.m. We left at 5, got there at 3 a.m., went to bed, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. We got up, straight to Rockefeller Center. I'm dragging my cousin. I'm telling my cousin we're going to get on Saturday Night Live. And in fact, I don't even care if he's going to get on. I'm going to get on. Shh. Anyways, we go to Rockefeller Center. I tell them, Jim Carrey's Canadian, I'm Canadian. Tickets, please. They say no. I'm still kind of shocked by that. I say, I like Soundgarden too. Tickets, please. No. All right, so we go off. We do other things. But we introduce. I was a charming young guy at one point. I could bat my eyes and get things done. Didn't work in this situation. And I have to tell you, the people we talk to at Rockefeller, it's pages. You have the NBC pages, and they do the gift shop, and they do the tours, and they do customer contact at Rockefeller Center. So anyways, I say, tickets please. They say no. We say, okay, well, we'll take a tour. So that Thursday, we actually took the tour of NBC Studios. We went to Saturday Night Live Studios. We went to Conan O'Brien Studios. We walked through the bowels, the insides of the building. Very cool. Nice to have done. We go off and do other things that Thursday. Next day, Friday, Letterman Day. First thing, we start our day at Rockefeller Center. I tell these guys, I gotta get on. I gotta get on. But, I'm Canadian, but, no luck. We leave, we do other things. 5 o'clock, we have the taping of David Letterman, which was all right. Not overly exciting, not crazy exciting. One thing you gotta know when you do these tapings of the shows, you sit there in a stage, and the stage is there, you see everything. As soon as the filming starts, the cameras move in front, and you end up watching the show on a lousy TV anyways. But this show was a little odd because David Letterman was yelling at Paul Schaefer all the time. They had to stop and restart. Something weird was going on. Anyways, on that show, Helen Hunt, Dave Matthews Band. They were our guests, so that was pretty cool to see. We leave the show and the Ed Sullivan Theater, where the Beatles played in 1964, so that same stage. Anyways, we realize we're a few blocks away. It starts filming at 5 and ends at 6:30 or whatever. We realize we're a few blocks from Rockefeller Center. Let's go down, This is it. I've lost hope. I'm despondent probably at this point. We get there and we see the Pages standing on the street handing out tickets. Free comedy show. We're filming a comedy show in an hour. You want to come to comedy? Sure. So we take a couple shows and we watch, and they're having trouble in it, but it looks kind of fun, waving down people trying to give away free stuff. You know? So anyways, I grab some tickets and I start kind of helping them. Hey. And at one point, Tom Brokaw, the biggest name at 6 o'clock news, comes out, full makeup, stands beside us, says, "What are you doing?" I explained to him we're trying to give away tickets to a comedy show. He says, "Oh, don't ever go into comedy." Walks off. So, again, Tom Brokaw was like the biggest name at 6 o'clock news at the time. And very random New York. All these celebrities we met, you know. In Ottawa, sleepy little Ottawa, I'd met a governor general once when I was a child. I mean, my mom still tells that story to everybody. To have met Tom Brokaw and Scorsese and Stallone, well, I mean, we're next level here, baby. Anyways, Tom Brokaw walks off. I'm handing out these tickets with these Pages, not because I want to help anybody, because I want stuff. I want something from them. That's how life works. You help when you want something. Anyways, I'm saying, get me tickets. Come on, guys, get me tickets. One of the Pages pulls me over and says, look at us. We're standing in the street giving out tickets, man. We have no power in this place. We're the lowest people on the totem pole. But there will be a Saturday Night Live party being filmed, a cast party, a season finale party at the Rockefeller Center skating rink, and you can come down and see them there. I mean, it's an outdoor, restaurant, and it's below, so you can stand and you can look. It's good enough. That was it. We do the shooting, Friday night videos. We see the comedians, it's one after another, not very funny. We were locked in there for 2 hours in a half-empty studio. Anyways, we go home. But we're going to get into that party. Again, I don't really know what my cousin's thinking about this. But he's kind of the cerebral one, and I'm the passionate one of the two of us. Anyways, Saturday rolls around. We sit in Brooklyn with my brother. We do Brooklyn stuff, 90s Brooklyn stuff. I have no idea what we did. We make a plan. We're going to get all dressed up, a little, collared shirts, a little Old Spice, put on deodorant, put on mousse. I was going to make myself look as good as I could possibly make myself look. We were going to watch the show at 11:30, Saturday Night Live. 1:45, we were going to drive into the city. Again, without my dad's car, this wouldn't have happened. So a bunch of things coming together here. We're going to drive in, park a few blocks away, get this Saturday Night Live, get into that party. The last part hadn't quite been, the details weren't quite there yet. Anyways, we do that. We park a few blocks away, 1:15, we kind of start walking over, we look down, and there they are. There's the fucking, some of the biggest, certainly the biggest names in TV, and a whole lot of the biggest names in like Hollywood and comedy and this and that. We're looking down, we're looking at these people. And again, this is not, 2021. This is 1996. There was no Instagram, no Twitter, there was magazines, there was Entertainment Tonight, and there was no other way to kind of engage with these people. To see them in front of you, like the guys you've looked up to, was fucking crazy. And you hear the music and the clinking of glasses, the laughing. Anyway, so I say, talk to my cousin. I say, "Oh, partner, pull back a little, pull back. We got to look calm, cool, collected. We got to get in there." So we walk into Rockefeller Center. We walk down into the bowels. There's all these shopping malls and everything down below. And we go to the door of the restaurant. A couple of big security guards there. We're not getting in there. So we kind of look. I say, "No problem, man. There's got to be a hole. There's going to be a hole. There's going to be a back door. There's going to be a kitchen door. There's going to be, a fire exit. There's going to be some way we can get in, knock on the door, have somebody casually open it, and we go in, Nothing. We don't see any of that stuff. 20 minutes, 30 minutes later, we're back in front of the restaurant. People are kind of going in and out, and I'm kind of thinking, okay, can we slip in? What's going on? And we're kind of losing hope. We're losing hope. Again, I think my cousin doesn't care. I'm losing hope. And we're kind of sitting there, what's going on? Maybe we'll just go home. And who should walk by? But Norm Mcdonald. Now, Norm Mcdonald at the time was one of the funniest comedians in the game. He was doing Weekend Update. He did a few things on Saturday Night Live, but he did Weekend Update. He had been bumped from Letterman the night before. We were supposed to see him on Letterman. And, but more importantly, he was from Ottawa. He was from my city. So anyways, this, Norm Mcdonald walks by. I got nothing left to lose. So I'd say, hey, Norm, what's going on? And this is what I learned from Conan O'Brien, that you yell at celebrities, you manipulate them to get what you want. That's how celebrity works. So I go, Norm, what's going on? Norm, we're from Ottawa. We used to see you do stand-up, which wasn't true. But he kind of, when he, we just said, when you were in Ottawa, we used to watch you. But kind of he's walking this way and he kind of turns and comes to us. Vanity. Manipulate people. We would have been too young, but I heard the stories of his stand-up and what he had done in New York, in Ottawa, before he came to New York City. Anyways, we talked for 15 minutes. Good talk about Ottawa, this and that. A good conversation. People are still going by. There's still lots of hustle and bustle happening. And anyways, the conversation kind of ends, and Norm's about ready to leave. I say, hey, Norm. Do you think you could get us to the party? And Norm's not a guy who really cares that much, I think. So anyways, Norm turns, looks at the door, waves at the security guards, points at us, and says, points in. We're like, okay. We kind of walk over to the door, the security guards open the door, and there we are. We are now in a Saturday Night Live party. So, there's no real plan for any of this. At this point, it's like we may as well have been on Mars or something. So we get in, we walk to the bar. I order a couple of beers, reach for my wallet. No charge, sir. All food, all drink is on the house. Okay, so we go, we sit down, kind of, okay, we're watching this. We are now in a room with whatever, Chris Rock, Adam Sandler, Adam Spade, Phil Hartman, Mike Myers, whatever, Jim Carrey, Soundgarden. Either they were there or that they, some were not there anymore, but these guys had gone through this system. I was in a room with all these kind of celebrities that you would have no possible connection with or way to interact with. Certainly not from Ottawa, where again a Governor General is a celebrity. So we're sitting there for 20 minutes, and then I say, well, I'm gonna go and start meeting them. So I leave my cousin. I've had a couple of beers. I'm feeling powerful, and I walk into the restaurant. It's not a big restaurant. It's a very tiny place, and I walk for a few paces, and there in front of me is Al Franken. Very funny man, a writer on Saturday Night Live. And he's sitting down. And I walk up to Al Franken and I go, Al, I'm a big fan. Really good to meet you. His face kind of goes from laughing with a friend beside him. He looks up, he looks at me, and it kind of goes from laughing in pure joy and relaxation to kind of confusion. Who is this guy? And then fear as to how did he get in here. I quickly kind of said, good to meet you. Walked away, sat back down with my cousin. And it was then I kind of like, we're wedding crashers here. Enthusiastic, over-the-top Dan has to be put aside, and cool, suave Dan has to come out and take over at this point. So that's what happened. We sat there, chilled out, watched people. We sat by the bar, so everybody was walking past us. All these celebrities, all these people we knew. Nothing crazy happening. At one point I did get up and chat with the guitarist from Soundgarden, who kind of was just as out of place at this as we were, but I spent 10-15 minutes talking to him, and it wasn't lost on me that had I not been talking to him at that very moment, I would have been in Ottawa playing his music. That was kind of cool. We'd eat, we'd drink, just enjoy ourselves. At one moment, there was a time where I kind of looked and I saw these kind of big name celebrities over here. My good buddy, my best friend Al right here. A couple of beautiful ladies that had chosen to sit with us. We were exotic Canadians. They wanted to know all about Canada. Straight in front of me, Chris Cornell, greatest singer of the 90s, bar none, from one of the greatest bands, sitting in the fountain of Rockefeller Center, doing the lambada. I look up, there's a Rockefeller Center, this gorgeous architectural marvel, and I'll tell you what, and it wasn't lost on me that at that moment, my dream location had served to me on a silver plate everything it had to offer. So from those dreams of New York City to that, it wasn't lost on me at the time that, wow, this is really cool. It wasn't a crazy party. I didn't do cocaine off a hooker's ass. There was none of that. It was just nice, chilled, calm, relaxed, sitting there with the biggest names at skit comedy. Anyways, by 4 a.m., 4:30, I think, things are petering down. It was like 2 hours we were there, 2.5 hours. things are petering down. I realize, okay, we're going to leave soon. I'm going to go start shaking a few hands. If we get kicked out, no big whoop. I talked to Will Ferrell. I talked to Tim Meadows. I talked to Colin Quinn. Andy Richter was there. Conan O'Brien was there. I talked to all of them, shook their hands, let them know they didn't give a shit anymore. They'd seen us. They knew we weren't psycho killers. They didn't give a shit. Anyways, we then grab a few more beers, walk down the street, sitting on outside Rockefeller Center, walk over to the car. The night wasn't really over yet, because driving home, I drove home at like 30 kilometers an hour through the empty Manhattan streets, sun just kind of coming up above these buildings, driving through the streets, no cyclists, no crazy traffic, really nice. I mean, it was part of my memories of this evening were just the drive. Anyways, I don't remember what we did for the rest of the trip. I don't remember any of my other trips to New York. That was kind of the shining moment. I understood it at the time. My brother moved to Rochester a few years later. I never once visited him in Rochester. Sorry, wonderful, cool big brother. I guess I've been to New York City 7 times now, most recent time in 2010. Where I did see Letterman again one last time. I still watch Saturday Night Live all the time. I still love it. It gives me good vibes. It gives me warm feelings. It's not the star-making machine it used to be. It's not the thing that you can watch and then talk about with all your friends. I don't know half the guests. I don't know half the hosts or the musicians. But it still gives me good feelings. Every time I watch it, I think of that night. I did see Soundgarden in 2011. They came to Ottawa. Ottawa's growing, becoming more of a player in the rock and roll concert game. Saw them in 2011. In 2016, 2017, Chris Cornell killed himself. That young kid sitting there in the fountain on top of the world, literally biggest band in the world, money, dancing lambada with like 6 girls, best show, biggest show in TV, top of the world, couldn't hack it. Poor guy. Since killed himself. That beautiful voice. Everyone, Soundgarden, everyone's got to go listen to the song 4th of July. When this song, listen to that. It's a masterpiece. His voice, that second verse when the high voice comes in, gorgeous operatic vocals over sludge. 4th of July. Yeah, so the 90s were a cool time, cool time. Cool time to be alive. I just wish I'd done a little more. But what's the moral? I guess in these pandemic times, the moral of this story is appreciate what you have. People, places, things, they all kind of blow away, disappear, gone forever. Work hard to get places. Once you get to those places, appreciate them. I failed at tons of stuff. I don't know why I succeeded that night. But anyways, for a kid, again, who dreamed of Letterman and Saturday Night Live, I did both of them. I didn't get on the show Saturday Night Live, but what we got was a little bit better. We did Letterman Friday, Saturday Night Live Saturday. Lifetime of talking about it. I haven't told this story much in the last 10 years. I don't know why. But it's a good story. I fail at most things I do, but that night I kind of succeeded, and I appreciate it. And that's my SNL incident, baby. Talk to you guys later.